Well, I Survived Bear Grylls is a show I've wanted to do for a while, and super proud to have brought this together and delivered it. And it's better than, I feel it's better than we ever hoped. It was all about bringing that kind of spirit of empowerment that I know that the wild and the outdoors gives us all, but bringing it into that armchair adventure at Worlds, of which I meet a lot of people all the time who come up to me and they say, if I was dropped in quicksand, I'd be great, or my husband would be brilliant, or my daughter, or my wife, or whoever it is. And it's like, that's great, but ultimately words are words, actions are actions. And on this show, I thought, let's just recreate some nightmare, disaster, survival scenario, mini environments, put people in it, see who is all words, and see who actually has the heart and that survivor spirit to keep calm in the crisis, be resourceful, be determined, adaptable, and to push through and win. And at the end of each episode, there's one winner. They're 10 grand the richer, but maybe more importantly, they've got that, shown they've got that something inside that says when the chips are down, they can deliver, they have the mettle and that survivor spirit to win.
Can you break down some of these challenges? Because I watched the teaser video and the first episode. I don't think I can handle it. So what are some of the things they're getting into?
Well, it was fun because we brought all of our survival team together for this and said, let's just create these. What are all of these sort of situations that I've found myself in that we can recreate? So everything from, you know, climbing stuff to quicksand, to being freezing cold, to being boiling hot, to being having to eat some terrible things. And it's all about testing these people's adaptability, their ability to keep calm in the crisis, to be efficient, to be smart, to lead with their brain, but drive with their heart, have the physicality as well for it. But great survivors are never just one of these things. They can pull all these elements together in the big moments. And you know, at the start of each episode, you have 8 people and you don't know who the hero's going to be. It's not like the movie. Survival's not like that. You know, in the movie, you know who the movie star is. This is different. This is real world. It's real situations where you don't know until you're squeezed. It's why I always say we're all like grapes. You squeeze us, you see what's inside, see what we're made of. And this show takes people to their physical and emotional and mental limits. But some incredible heroes emerge out of this, and it's often the unlikely ones. And it's often the people who at the beginning don't believe that they have got it. And until that pressure goes on, you never really know.
I've seen your shows, so I know you can handle a lot, but was there anything in these challenges that even you were like, oh, no way, I don't think I could do that? Or was it all stuff that you've already done before?
Well, every challenge is an environment or a situation or a scenario that I've been in many times, to be honest. But we try to kind of recreate it, everything from, you know, if we put people on climbing walls, it's never just a climbing wall. We'll be blasting them with ice cold water and they'll be blindfolded and having to work under pressure and locate and feel for birds' nests and do all of this stuff. And it's all happening in 1,000,000 miles an hour because that's how the wild is. You know, it's never just like a perfectly sanitized, we're going climbing. It's like often you're having to climb, but you're in a storm and it's nighttime and you're hungry, you're trying to find food and be resourceful. So it's testing that sort of spirit in people.
Were there any contestants or moments in the challenges that surprised you with the people that were taking part?
I think the surprising bit always was that, and the bit that I liked is you never really know who's going to be stood there at the end. And, you know, they often surprise themselves, and I like that. And yes, the winner is 10 grand the richer, but in a way that never really mattered as much as that sense of pride that, you know, they've been pushed and they might be covered in blood and guts and mud and, you know, soaking wet and, you know, but their eyes are full of light and their pride is like palpable on their face, and that they've been asked a question and they've stepped up and they've shown what they're made of and that it's strong and beautiful. And when you see that, it's amazing. And that's a part of the show that I always wanted I Survived Bear Grylls to be about. Ultimately, yes, it's fun, and yes, it's 1,000,000 miles an hour, and you see people often with a lot of chat fall by the wayside. But ultimately, I want it to be a show that empowers people and inspires people and says, wow, that person I never thought should manage it, and look at her now. And that's what the wild does. Ask the questions, but if you step up it always delivers that sense of pride.
I'm curious if there's anything that stood out to you within the contestants that they might have said before going into it and after when they finished their challenges and or won.
Well, I think there was a lot of chat always at the start. People like going, "Oh, I've seen you do this. I'd do it way better." And it's like, I didn't need to respond. It was just like, okay, great. Time for you to show what you're made of. But be prepared for the unexpected, and nothing is what it seems. This day is going to take you to the edge and challenge you in a way you've never gone through before. And at the end, there'll only be one of you standing. And it will be down to this at the end of the day. Good luck.
What was the contestants' reactions after? Were they surprised they could do it? Were they grossed out by anything?
Invariably, they were grossed out by the situations, because survival is not pretty. Survival hurts. Survival's often disgusting. Welcome to the real world. Always looks great on the telly and easy. But the romance goes pretty fast when you're neck deep in blood and guts and trying to figure things out under pressure. But that's the fun part of it. But the invariable ending was always that sense of like palpable pride in themselves for that one person that won. And I love it. And we had amazing stories from veterans to disabilities to people who've just gone through some huge battles in their life and had to overcome some big obstacles. And they might have been wilderness rookies, but you know what? Overcoming big obstacles, people do it in all sorts of ways in their lives, and that becomes a muscle inside. Those people often become resilient by accident, just from dealing with life. And those people often did really well on the show, almost by accident.
All of the contestants seem to be really inspired by you, but did any of them inspire you?
Yeah, I think the inspiration was two ways on this show, every episode and every day. And I think when you get to know people fast in difficult situations, and the connections with all of those guys, especially those at the end, was always really strong. There was a lot of emotion in this show that surprised me. I wasn't ready for that. But when you see people put it all on the line, and you see how much it means to some of these people to show that to their daughter that they're not just a single mum who's, to show actually, look, you're incredible. Or to show that veteran who's maybe lost his confidence and his way a little bit, but actually he's still got it. Or to show that dad that to his kids, he is that fighter, even though he's lost his job. He's a fighter. He's never going to give up. And I think there were so many mums or dads who did really well in this. Not surprisingly, but it was inspiringly, because they said, what do they say? The best way to parent, example, example, example. And these mums and dads wanted to show that to their teenagers that, you know what, when the chips are down, I've got it, and you can have it too, but look at me first. And that's always inspiring.
I've heard a lot of people telling me they think they could do it. How did you guys find the contestants, or how, did you pick who got involved?
Finding the contestants was easy, and you might be surprised at that, because they know they're going to face some truly horrific things. And they did face some truly horrific things. But thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of people applied, because I think people want the chance to show what they're made of. And they know that adventure in the wild and survival challenges, and it's going to ask them big questions. But people really want to know what they're made of, and the wild is a great place to show that. And that's why our challenge was just whittling it down, because there were so many inspiring stories to pick from. But there was also a lot of chat. There really was a lot of people who thought they'd be great, but actually when the pressure was on, were terrible.
You have a lot going on right now. I believe I saw on your Instagram that you're the chief scout, and some of the scouts went to the coronation over the weekend. What did it mean to you to have them there?
Well, it's a role I'm so proud to do in my life, to be Chief Scout for the World Scouts Organization, which is some 57 million strong. We had 50 scouts were chosen to go to the actual coronation, and that was amazing to be a part of. And their stories, again, super inspiring for me. Young people from some of the toughest areas around the world who have stood up and live a life of service and with kindness and with heart, and they often been helping out in refugee camps and in disaster zones, and to see all of these stories come together in these young people, and to get to experience a little bit of that magic at the coronation was really inspiring. And as I say, it's a role I'm incredibly proud of. And again, I'm a small cog in an amazing worldwide force for good, an amazing machine, and the Scouts are incredible.
I think I saw you that you were at the coronation concert. Is that right?
Yeah,
yeah. What was that experience like?
Well, it was. First of all, the coronation itself was terrible weather. I don't know if you could see it on TV. It was torrential rain, and there was a lot of sort of pressure. And I think everybody in the country, you could feel it. There was this sort of tension there. And yet the next night at Windsor Castle, out of London, the skies cleared, the music was playing. You know, the King and Queen were literally like here to you and me, just here next to me, and it was amazing. You could see just a lightness and a sort of a happiness that it was all done and everyone's safe and everyone's together and there's a sense of unity and pride and service, and it was just so beautifully done and respectfully done, and a really happy, amazing atmosphere. And it was a privilege to be there and to be a part of it, and to be able to introduce, for the TV side of things, introduce a little bit about King Charles's military service and say that story. But just a really happy occasion, and for all of our country in the UK, just a really proud day.
I know that everybody, all of our viewers were loving seeing like the sweet moments between the family. Is it a sense of pride to see them taking part in such a big event, and then also for you being part of a historic event? I mean, this is not happened in many people's lifetimes.
Yeah, it is. It's really, it was a once in a lifetime thing. And what, for me, the best bit of the whole weekend was the next day when the Scouts organised something called the Big Help Out. And it was where all the charities in the UK opened up their doors and for volunteers to come and experience what it's like to help out. And it's such a simple idea, but all the royal family got involved. You know, you had Catherine and William and all their children went to see the Scouts in the little town near Windsor, and were, wearing their knickers and digging holes and helping out and building this and helping move things here and there. And you think that's amazing when the whole country can come together. And in the end, the UK's got 65 million people in it, and yet 6.5 million people on that day, 1 in 10 people in the whole country, huge numbers, got involved volunteering and helping out. And it comes from good leadership from the top. And when you see Princess of Wales and their kids doing it as a family, and the Scouts putting it all together, it was a really inspiring, beautiful sort of way to end it on a note of service.
That was going to be my next question about the Big Help Out. We saw the family was there, and I believe it was the first time that all 3 kids were taking part in a royal engagement. What does that mean for you and for the Scouts to be part of that moment with them?
Yeah, I mean, it's a privilege that they give so much time and energy and focus to the Scouts. But I think the Scouts do something in the UK and around the world that is priceless. It's giving opportunities to young people who might never normally get that chance to experience adventure, to experience the outdoors, to experience, teamwork and friendships and, learning all this stuff and purpose and pride and good values, and to be part of something. And they're just incredibly supportive to the Scouts. And like with all things, with parenting, how do you be a good parent? Example, example, example. And for them to take their children there, for their kids' first ever royal engagement to be something helping out, volunteering, supporting a charity, getting muddy and dirty, having a bit of fun as well, and helping young people was an inspiration to so many people.
Were you surprised that Prince Louis, Prince George, and Princess Charlotte were getting their hands dirty, or did you expect them to jump in? I know there was an ant-eating incident with Prince George that you've witnessed before, so I didn't know if you knew that they were going to be ready to go. Well,
I did know they'd be ready to go. I think from my interactions with them over the years, if I've learned anything, it's that they're totally adventure-minded. They love the outdoors. They completely bring their children up in a way that is all about conservation and respect for the wild and loving the outdoors and challenging yourself. So for me, it was no surprise to see them getting stuck in. But as you know, the wild doesn't judge. It doesn't care whether you're a king or whoever. It asks a question of us all, and it rewards commitment and courage and respect. And I love that. It's why the wild is a great leveler.
I don't know if you saw them doing archery. I brought the video in case you hadn't, but our team was laughing at them doing archery, and then we were watching the promo for your show, and you were doing archery. So I brought the video along to see if you think that they would be able to handle your show, or who you think might win. Prince Louis, Prince George, Princess Charlotte.
Well, first of all, it's always fun seeing any young people get involved and have adventure. Is always inspiring to see, the future king and Prince of Wales and his children in the thick of adventure, having fun with their siblings, with other young people, is great. Adventure lights us all up, doesn't it? And whether it's Prince George doing that, whether it's me doing the same thing on I Survived Bear Grylls, or with these contestants, or on Running Wild, or there's something about the outdoors that gives us something that no money or fame or anything can buy, and that's the magic.
Could they survive Bear Grylls?
Could they survive Bear Grylls? I think they'd do better than that. They're well on their way. They've got the right spirit. They've got the right spirit.